We are now joined by Jeff Gordon, driver of the number 24 Drive to End Hunger Chevrolet. Jeff holds the track record for most top fives, most top tens, and most laps led here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Jeff, talk a little bit about New Hampshire and your practice run earlier today.
Well, obviously, from those numbers, I like it here. We tested here, and, it's always beneficial to test. I thought we had a pretty challenging practice. Conditions, I think, changed from the test quite a bit on us, and even just how quickly things are advancing, with the sport. You come here, whatever it was, 2 months ago, and you're just going week to week, how the setups evolve, speed in the cars, learning more. So now here we are trying new things, completely different things than what we even tested here. So some of the things worked, some of the things didn't work, but we ended the practice on a positive note with some good qualifying runs. So, looking forward to qualifying. Hopefully we can make a few more gains and get us a solid starting position, and then, learn what we learned from today and apply it for tomorrow to get ready for the race on Sunday. But, it's always a track I look forward to.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions for Jeff. We'll start with Mike Hembry.
Mike Hembry, USA Today. Let me ask you about a couple of things. This track has banking, but I get the impression you guys really don't feel the banking. It's more of basically a flat track from how you set up, right?
Yeah, from where I'm sitting, it feels like it has negative banking. It's very, very flat.
The other thing, Morgan Shepherd racing here Sunday at 71. Do you plan to race that long?
I keep asking when I'm going to quit, not if I'm going to race some 71.
And B, should there be a maximum age? How do you feel about a guy racing at 71?
I think everyone is made different, in how they apply themselves and stay healthy. And I think a doctor and Morgan are the ones that decide that, and I think that should be the case with every individual. I think if you've taken good care of your body and you pass all the physicals, then should there be a little bit more strenuous type of workout to pass that physical examination to make sure that you are prepared at that age? Maybe, but I think if you're out there capable of doing it and you're willing to do it, then and you pass the physical, then I think you should be allowed to do it. I mean, I think that's quite an accomplishment, I will say. We talk about how amazing it is to see Mark Martin out there being competitive at over 50 years old, but to just get out there and go do what he does as far as Morgan's concerned, 71, that's amazing. And no, you will not see me out there doing that at 71.
All right, we'll go to Kurt.
Kurt Cavan, Indianapolis Star. How do you judge your competitiveness at this point in the season? And as we look toward Indianapolis, are you starting to get stoked again?
Competitiveness versus results are two different things, for me right now. We have really struggled this year. Earlier in the year, I think, with the competitiveness, and then we started getting the competitiveness and the cars just driving better, more to my liking, and the speed being there. I think we maybe have had it during the race most of the year, but qualifying, we've struggled. So that's something we've been working on. And I was very pleased with what happened at Kentucky, and I hope we can see some more progress there on the mile and a halves. On these types of tracks, we've been pretty competitive qualifying and in the race. So I hope that continues. But I'm very much looking forward to Indianapolis. Same thing kind of applies to Indy as it does here. We tested there, which is always great, beneficial, but things have evolved since that test, and I think our cars have improved since that test, and we'll be trying to apply that when we get there. But all signs of that test and things that we have planned, I'm very excited. I think we had a shot winning that race a couple years ago, and I always go into that track with confidence, feeling good, and when the car and the team are feeling the same way, then that's a great combination to have.
All right, let's go Jim Utter and David Newton.
Jim Utter, Charlotte Observer. in 1998, it'll make you think back a little bit, you and Mark combined for 20 wins out of the 33 races. And for most of the season, you two had pretty much separated yourselves.
I hope everybody agrees that was a great year.
I think so. Had pretty much separated yourselves from the rest of the field. My question is, so far halfway through this season, at least a number of races, Matt and Jimmy have both won 4 races and have been in contention to win several others.
Right.
Do you think, I know the chase will change the championship picture, but do you see them as having separated themselves from the rest of the field in the same fashion as far as being in contention for wins like you and Mark had?
Yeah, I would say, certainly up to this point they have, and I agree with you. I think both of those guys could have won more races than that. The difference is that the way it used to be is you separated yourself through your consistency, especially if you won a bunch of races in top fives, and nobody had a chance of ever catching you. It was over. So even if your momentum didn't quite continue the last 10 races of the year, you had such a stretch that you could just kind of give and take a little bit, or maybe you maintain the momentum and killed it like we did in 98, where we just continued that all the way to the final race. But with the chase, that's what changes. All of a sudden everything gets reset, and all of a sudden it's you might have a small advantage based on your wins, but basically it's something that you're all on a clean slate now, and now you have to put the best 10 races that you've put together all season long right then and there to win the championship. And that really just in itself breaks up the momentum that you had. But I always feel like the best teams always win the championship, and it seems like they throughout the season build that team up, and when the chase starts, the guys that execute it the best are the ones that win it. And I think the 2 had that last year, and the 14 the year before. Even though he didn't have any momentum, they did everything they needed to do to put themselves in a position to go and execute well and put a championship run together. And we've seen the 48 do that as well. So right now I think it's the 48s to lose. They've been so strong, and because they've won 5 championships, you don't expect them to for it to go away anytime soon, and you don't expect them to lose that momentum when the chase starts. But because it is a chase, anything is possible and can happen.
Right. David Newton?
Yeah, David Newton, ESPN.com. Along those lines, after Jimmy won last week, the cynics came out again and started saying he's ruining the season, he's ruining NASCAR because he's dominating the series. You probably heard that back when you were winning all those races. But it seems like everybody's forgetting everybody else in the series. Kevin Harvick's had 8 straight top 10s, and nobody's paying attention to him as a championship contender. Your team could get on a roll and be a contender. Is it way too early, and why aren't teams like that getting recognition right now when they're doing well?
Yeah, I think it's just history. I think the dominance that Jimmy and the 48 team have had over the years, and the records that they continue to set or break, draw a lot of attention. And I think that what they need is a good rival. That's I think what creates a great story. I think people in even the media and even the competitors, you want to have somebody that you love to hate, and unless you're that team winning all the time, you're not going to be real happy about them when they go to victory lane. You're going to want to figure out how to beat them, and I think that's kind of where people are, But he's also building just a heck of a resume and stat sheet and just doing unbelievable things that I don't think truly, and I've said this for years, don't think will truly be respected until years down the road. And it's unfortunate for those guys, because it seems like every time they do something amazing and good, they get a little bit of recognition, but then it's more of they're stinking up the show, this is not good for the sport, and I find that to be pretty unfair. But I think they probably don't care a whole lot about it either after they're celebrating the victory.
All right, Kenny Bruce.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Speaking of unfair, when successful drivers hit lulls, okay,
What are you getting at, Kenny? Just
no,
get straight to the point.
a lot of times fans will say, well, he needs a new crew chief. He needs a new crew chief change.
Yes.
What would your response be when you hear things like that as to why the crew chief, just changing crew chiefs isn't automatically going to make a team start winning races?
Well, first of all, I don't think anybody should speak to it. Everybody can have their own opinions, and with Twitter and Facebook and the internet these days, the opinions flow freely, and everybody has a voice, and that's great. I think it's cool that people are interacting that way, but I don't think anybody can really give true criticism unless they're inside the organization and they see the relationship, and they are in the meetings, or they see how we work together, at the track and away from the track. And to me, I mean, I've put as much blame on myself this year as I have, when we're not qualifying well. I feel like that I haven't given the effort to the team. I know our cars are better than that, and then there's been times where we've made mistakes and we've had freaky, crazy things happen to us. And I'm always a big believer on it's not about luck; it's about making your own luck, and through preparation and hard work and putting yourself in position for good things to happen. And it seems like every time we get ourselves in that position, something changes, and those are things that are not a crew chief's fault, a driver's fault, a team or crew member's fault. And so I mean, I don't know if you're speculating to Alan, but he's one of the best crew chiefs in this garage area, and anytime I see or hear that, it frustrates me because I know how good he is. And trust me, nobody's more frustrated with our performance this year than I am, and our team is, because it's not from lack of effort, and we know what our teams, teammates are capable of doing and are doing, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be right there along with it. But we've changed crew chiefs, teams, pit crews. We've done everything over the years to try to keep up with the 48, and it hasn't been successful yet. But it doesn't mean we're not going to keep trying. And that just shows you how good those guys are. And I love my loyal fans that that will go with me all the way to the bottom of the ocean, even if it was my fault. And that's just loyalty, and you got to love that.
All right, let's go Jim Noble and then back to Kurt.
Jim Noble, ESPN. Bear with me, another teammate question for a second. Do you follow drivers on Twitter? Watch them at all?
Yeah, I do.
Do you follow Jimmy, or do you sporadically read what Jimmy has to post?
Well, yeah, and I have a lot of fans that when they're usually talking to both of us, so I see his Twitter handle and a lot of tweets that are tweets to me or tweets to him.
Does Jimmy come across as more interesting on Twitter than he does when he's at the racetrack and focused? I mean, does his personality shine? Maybe that wasn't the best.
Maybe I don't follow him quite as much as you do. I don't. The thing is, I don't have to follow him to know how interesting he is, because I've partied with the guy. I've hung out with Jimmy enough to know that that he's a very interesting, great person, and works very hard at being as good as he is, and there's no surprise there. But Twitter, yeah, I mean, I think a good bit of his personality comes out in his tweets, and again, I'm not following it quite as much as maybe you are or others, but I see some of the fun. He's mixing it up and having fun and being loose, and I think that's what's a great thing about Twitter, is everybody gets to see a different side of you, as well as they get to interact with you, and it's a great tool, or a great fun to have.
All right, let's go to Kurt.
We won't ask you if you're more fun off Twitter, but
I am.
You saw the.
I mean, I had a pretty good night last week. Everybody thought that my Twitter account had been hacked because I actually said some comments and kind of got outside of my norm, and all of a sudden everybody's like, "This is not Jeff. Somebody's hacked Jeff's Twitter account." So I didn't know how to take that exactly. That sort of hurt my feelings. But I guess I'm definitely more fun off when I'm not on Twitter.
I was going to ask you, after seeing the IndyCar race at Pocono and what Kurt Busch did, would you like now, does this encourage you to see what you can do to run Indianapolis in a controlled environment in an IndyCar?
That's a good question. I mean, honestly, the whole time I was there, I didn't think about that at all. I know that might be odd, but I really just was thinking of it from a purely entertainment standpoint, seeing my son see a different kind of car and just whether he's entertained by it or not. And most of it was for him and my nephew who's also with me. For me, it was, being amazed at how fast those cars go through those corners that I'm used to going through at much slower speeds, and just the technology of the cars. Would I like to drive one of those cars somewhere? Yeah, I would. But my biggest thing that holds me back from doing a lot of things is I want to be competitive in whatever it is I'm in. And I know that if I go run 5 or 10 laps, whether it be a rally car, Indy car, or whatever car, sprint car, that's not enough for me to go be competitive. And if I can't go be competitive in it, I usually don't have fun. And that's just my personality. It's not about just sliding the car sideways or feeling it stick at 220 miles per hour. It's about, can I be as fast as somebody else? And so, no, I honestly, that didn't persuade me to want to go do it more. As a matter of fact, when I was speaking to Hinchcliffe and then moments later he's spinning back in the wall, I was like, I mean, you couldn't even, the thing barely flinched and he couldn't catch it. I felt, bad for him. And I also thought, yeah, no, I have no desire to go get in that car.
All right, let's take our final question from Dustin Long.
Dustin Long, Motor Racing Network. Now we've gotten through both Daytona races. Obviously, still a plate race to go. But looking ahead to next year for Daytona, is there anything that NASCAR needs to look at with these cars? Any changes moving forward? Now you've had 2 races with this car on that type of track.
Well, I will say the way we approached the July race was a lot different than February, where we saw guys really get in line and run that high line a lot more in July, and where guys are a lot more racy and pushing the limits and trying to get that track position and working with other guys to do that, and girls. And so I thought the racing was really good. The only thing I think that being out front is a little bit too much of an advantage right now. It's very hard to organize a group to pass the leader. I mean, even that run that Tony got coming into 3 and through 3 and 4, I mean, he got a pretty good push from the 29, and it didn't materialize into as much as I thought it would. It seemed like it just stopped pretty quick. And so I think that looking at some of the aero package, the cars, I like the way the cars drive, and I like how we were able to mix it up, be 3 wide, and that's a little bit to do with the dragginess and downforce of the car. But if there was something to allow a car to get a little bit more of a slingshot on the leader, it'd be the only thing that I would recommend. And I don't know if I know enough how to make that happen, but that's what I would shoot for.
All right, Jeff,
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Good luck this weekend.